Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm Bob Walters. This is Locked Up Sports. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching on YouTube or on the audio end of the podcast. We thank you for checking us out and giving us a little bit of your time. We got a good one for you today. Chris McMonigle is going to join me in just a couple of minutes. WFAN overnight host. He's a producer. He produced some of the most iconic shows on the station. Everything from Francesa to Carton and Roberts. You name it, he's done it. He's been with the station almost 20 years, about 18 years. So we get into everything from the Mets, the Yankees, the Giants, Jets, Aaron Rodgers, St.Johns. So it's a real good interview, and we were excited to have him, and we thank him for coming on. So you're going to enjoy that. We're going to get to that in 1 minute. Day one of the NCAA tournament. Here, nothing major has happened yet. No major upsets where it's something that would screw brackets across the country. But it's coming. It's coming, folks. And you know it is because it comes every year like that. So that's what's going on. Let's get to our interview. Chris McMonigle, WFAN. He's the overnight host. Enjoy it, everybody. We'll see you on the other side. So now we'd like to welcome in a special guest here on Locked Up Sports. We have Chris McMonigle. He's CMac. He's been with WFAN forever, 18 years, I believe. And he's the overnight guy now. He replaced Steve Summers, who's a legend in his own right. CMac, thanks for coming. Thanks for giving us a couple minutes here.
Oh, no problem. Of course. I do just want to say, because Sal won't let me forget it if he sees this. Sal Licata replaced.
You're right. You're right.
Steve, but I am
you replaced Sal. We had Sal.
So
we had Sal on the show too.
Now. Thrilled with my position. So
yeah, it's and you do a good job. I listen to it when I'm in jail at night. I go to jail. I'm working the overnights at jail every night. And on Rikers Island, and I got you on, and I'm listening to you. So there are some people in jail that are listening to you.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate it. It's a good show.
Well, yeah, people are out there. Someone's listening.
Someone's always listening somewhere. That's what I like to know. That's what I like to think, at least.
That's it.
So
that's it.
Now you worked with you worked with Mike, right? Mike now does the podcast, so Mike's my competition now. Now I'm directly in competition with Mike. And what who did you learn the most from as far as goes with WFAN and when you got there and you obviously grew up listening to the fan, right?
I grew up listening to WFAN, listening to Mike and the Mad Dog. And that's really, I started with Steve. I did start at night with Summers, and learned a lot from him as well. Learned, Steve. I recognized that it was a performance with Steve. I recognized he would write out his monologue. It was very theatrical. His open. He incorporated a lot of sound and stuff. So I learned quickly with Steve that it wasn't just talking sports. That it was a show, and there was a presentation to it. And then I learned just so much from Mike, and I think I was with him for 7 or 8 years. So much the daily grind, so much of understanding what the audience wants to hear, so much of understanding the hot topic, so much of, to some people he may come off, arrogant and stuff, but you have to, what made Mike great for me was the game wasn't over. The playoff game, the big game of the night wasn't over until 1:00 the next day when I heard Mike's opinion on it. So the idea of, to be as forceful with your opinion, be as confident as you are about it, and make it seem like, your opinion is the one that matters, was very influential to me, and just listening to him every day for years. Then Craig and Evan really were the two that allowed me to kind of blossom, sort of. Craig really allowed me to become part of the show, show a lot of my personality, do off-show stuff on camera for the website and stuff. It really allowed me to kind of find myself as a personality and as someone who would go on to do shows. So I learned a lot from everybody. And you said I've been there forever. I was a producer board op for 16 years before I made it as a full-time on-air position. So you learn a lot just doing it day to day to day to day. It's the grind of just, it's to do 5 hours. I do 3 to 5 hours a night. Especially in time periods like this. Now we got the tournament, but you go through February after the Super Bowl, and
nothing.
It can be a grind. It can be a grind to find things to talk about, or it could be a grind to, put on a show. But to do it day after day after day, you recognize how difficult it is. And I think I learned that a lot from Mike too.
And the midnight
so long solo.
the midnight's a different animal too. You get some crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, you get some people who are up there in the middle of the night. They've been drinking all night, or they're out like 3 a.m. I'm working, but a lot of people just sitting at home. They're not doing the you don't get the best of the best at the midnight. So you got to work with that. At least you got the Knicks. The Knicks are okay now, And like you said, the tournament. This is one of my favorite 4 days. These 4 days, the body of the tournament, and with Mike. And Mike, I find myself like sometimes sounding like I end up saying things that he said because I listen to him every day for 5 hours when I was working else places. You find yourself being like, oh no, people are gonna say, oh, I sound like I'm talking like Mike. But
and I get that. So I get that a lot from people. So I'm sure he's rubbed off on me in many ways. So.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've caught the brunt of his stuff a couple times, like he had this week, and that people were giving him a hard time. That was light. That was nothing this week.
That was nothing. I was shocked at the reaction. I retweeted it and just said the good old days. Like I thought it was funny and a typical Mike moment, but nothing where I was like, the story's written that he's berating is like. It was ridiculous. I thought that was extremely light. I thought that was just funny more than it was anything else. But yeah, Mike, this was a great day. I don't know if you've actually been listening to the fan today a little bit. With my hours, I woke up a little while ago and I was listening to the fan, and Evan, of course, blew pizza day, which today, Thursday, the first day of the tournament, all the years I worked with Mike, it was a party. Mike would order. We had 12 pizzas. It was 6 plain, then we split up the other 6 with different toppings. We used to have to hide the pizza until game started because the engineer department would come and eat it. And it was a great day. Everyone in sales, the entire newsroom was filled with people watching the games, eating pizza. And apparently Evan ordered 3 pizzas for the day. So it's not what it used to be. It's not the same. But
he spent all the money on the Mustang down in Florida. That's what it was.
Yeah, exactly. This is this is a great time of year, and these are without question. Arguably the 2, certainly today and tomorrow, 2 of the best days on the sports calendar without question.
Yeah, because this is the tournament, right? The tournament's basically a 4-day thing where it's wildness, wall-to-wall basketball, upsets, buzzer beaters, this and that, and it's just nonstop. And then the smoke clears on Sunday night, and you're left with 16 teams. Then you're down to kind of like the nitty-gritty basketball fans get into it on Thursday and everything like that. And one more thing about Mike, I was laughing because when he sounded like he was like 1990 back when I was in college, doing college radio when he's like, break the tape, like they
I know.
It was funny. Funny.
That was one of the funnier parts where he thought he would just stop it. Let's stop it and get right into this. And I've been there before where you're not even sure, because he had, to be fair to him, he had something in his headset in that clip and he wasn't sure what it was or what they were saying. He's just asking who's talking to me. And it probably was an accident where it bled through or something, and they don't even know what he heard in their headset. So he's asking them the questions, and I've been there where he's asking questions, and I just you don't know what to say.
But somebody said it.
So you just kind of freeze.
Somebody was sitting there going, "Oh no, I'm the one that said the Big East has already won." I don't want to say it. Now you're a Yankee fan. I'm a Yankee hater. It just is what it is. And listen, and I tell Yankee, because you don't hate the Mets, and you admittedly say I don't hate the Mets. If you had if you had to live through like I did the dynasty, and the Mets won 4 out of 5, and one of them was on Yankee Stadium, and I was planning, I was taking off now for November 3rd for the parade every year. You would probably hate the Mets too. But now
I understand that, and I say that when it comes off as condescending, and it's part of the reason why many people disagree with you that I do hate the Mets is that. I don't hate the Mets because they never caused me any pain.
No, with no threat.
We'll see. Maybe they will now. Who knows? But and listen, that means the World Series, so I would almost sign for it. We have to get there. But I've never lost a meaningful game. They've never caused me heartbreak. I hate the Angels. I hate the Tigers. I hate the Red Sox. I hate the Tampa Bay Rays. I hate the teams that have sent me home. The Mets just aren't it for me, and I don't care about I got to go in and talk to Ted in accounting and he's never going to let me live it down. I don't care about that. I'm not like, I'm going to get bombarded on the subway with Met hats. That doesn't bother me. It bothers some people, but I'm rooting for the Mets, but it's gotten to the point now where, like you said, I'm a Yankee fan. If I just have an opinion on how they're building the rotation and I'm concerned about it, somehow I'm this Met hater who doesn't see I'm just, okay, listen, last year was great. And so far in spring, it's been amazing. I mean, Griffin Canning's having a great spring. Peterson's pitching to an under 1 ERA. It's been amazing so far in spring. I'm curious if you can continue to build a rotation this way while you're chasing championships and not, have a hard and fast rule that you're not going to sign premier free agents because they typically hit free agency at 30. I just feel like at some point you're going to have to take a chance to make sure you have premier talent in the rotation. So far, it's worked for them, and it looks like it's working again so far this spring.
Yeah, but that means nothing.
I slightly wonder if it's sustainable year after year, and I wonder if and when they decide to tweak their hard and fast rule on it. But that makes me a Met hater because I'm curious about how this rotation.
Yeah, no, I don't consider you a Met hater, and I think it's right. How could you not be curious? Because listen, we as Mets fans, we were just waiting for the other shoe to drop, and how can we?
Right.
Are we going to really catch lightning in a bottle twice with this rotation? I mean, sure, Manaea came out of nowhere. It just everything kind of fell into place last year, and we were worried about the rotation, and also. We know that Lindor is not going to hit in April. That's just you could take that to the bank. So
right.
and if you fall behind the 8 ball too hard, you're not going to have last year again. That's not going to happen again. You can't be 11 games under 500 and come back again. So I agree with you. But on the other side, I also look at something like Garrett Cole and all these pitchers. When you spend all this money. Tommy John's just part of the deal, and you're going to miss a year or 2 years. Look at DeGrom. Thank God we got rid of DeGrom. Are you worried about the Yankee staff more than the Mets?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess right now after the injuries, I suppose I am. Yeah, and I totally agree with you. I think I'm not saying Stearns is the idea like that. He looks over at the Yankees and sees the Max Fried contract and goes 8 years. That's crazy. I agree with you. Like, I understand that point. The pitching injuries are just so prevalent up and down that it's hard to justify it. I get that. But at the same time, Cole goes down. I'm pretty glad that they have Max Fried to step in as an ace. Like, the Mets are going to rely on Griffin Canning to step in and Paul Blackburn to step in. And they might be great, but I'm nervous about it. But yeah, the rotation with the Yankees, the thing I think about it is I still look at it with Max Fried at the top. I still think as much as Carlos Rodon scares me in the big game necessarily, I think over the course of a regular season, he's a average to below average number 2 and a solid number 3 who's going to win you 15 games or so if he stays in the game. Plus the back end of the bullpen's really good. The rotation going into the year was what made them the best team in the American League without question for me. Now it's just a pedestrian starting rotation that I still think can be good enough to win. I think, we'll see. You ride Cookie Carrasco for as long as you can. Will Warren has been was at least the early talk of spring with how well he was pitching. I think they have a little bit of depth, and I think the back end of the bullpen is so dominant that you can get by with this rotation, and we'll see what they could do at the trade deadline. But they get one more injury, and now you're really talking about a devastated rotation. But I still think when you look around the American League, it's one of the better ones. And I'm feeling pretty good about it.
And could you really? I mean, the Orioles, who I've been waiting for God knows how long to do, they just never come through with. And they got all the players. They got a young team. They finally turned it around, and they still. I have no faith in them. It's like when the Mets went to the Braves last year to win to that doubleheader. I had no faith.
If I was an Orioles fan and that new ownership comes in, and the talk of now they have money. They'll be willing to do some things. They have all this young talent, all these young players, all this young lineup. They trade for Burns last year, new ownership, and they don't even it wasn't even a consideration he was going to stay with them. Santander joked the other day that they didn't and not that Santander is the greatest player in the world, but they didn't even offer him a reasonable contract. Like, I don't understand how they could be this young, this talented, have guys like Gunnar Henderson and like all this young talent,
the catcher,
and not try. Rushman.
Rushman.
Like they have all this talent, and their pitching staff is god awful. Like I don't understand. And I know their closer was down all year, and he'll be back this year. Cano is a pretty good 8th and 7th inning guy that they have there. But I would be the way they handled this offseason. I mean, Tyler O'Neill was their major pickup. They got a right-handed power bat who can't hit right-handed, who's okay against right-handed pitching and dominates left-handed pitching. That's the only real major addition, and a 35-year-old starter from Japan. That's all they did. And yeah, I mean, that's why I look around it. To me, it's the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Rangers as the 3 teams that I view as the real class of the American League. You throw in, depending on how good the Royals can be with, their additions. They added Jonathan India. They have a premier player. Obviously in Witt Jr. and they have 2 guys at the top of the rotation in Reagans and Seth Lugo. So I'm looking
Seth
forward to
Lugo.
see if they can make a big time jump. But yeah, I know. Well, listen, you guys, you like the idea of converting relievers into starters? Michael King, Seth Lugo, those are your patron saints right now.
Yeah, Clay Holmes.
As you get Clay, I have to admit, I don't know how well or often you listen to the show.
Yeah, I listen.
I died on the Clay Holmes hill over and over again. With Yankee fans. I always was a fan of Clay Holmes. I think he's got dominant stuff. I think a lot of his blown saves were based on poor defensive positioning, and pure bad luck. He had, the average number of blown saves that were completely on him. But the reason the number got so high is there were a bunch of unique, weird circumstances where the Yankees continued to play the shift against lefties while pitching lefties away, and they were just hitting ground balls through holes, and they're falling down in the outfield for him against Baltimore. And I was a big proponent of his. And then I think he proved himself in the playoffs too. When the Yankee fans wanted him jettisoned and wanted him nowhere near the playoff rotation, you could argue he was their best reliever the entire American League playoff run. So I've always had confidence in him. I didn't know if he could. I don't know if he's a candidate to transfer to the starting rotation because two things. One, his pitching repertoire, which I'll give him now. He's added this kick change and it looks very good. Yes. But also the thing about Clay Holmes that even I would have to admit is he has trouble finding it. Like if he comes in and the first pitch goes to the backstop, you know how that inning is going. Like he's just one of those guys. And now he's going to have more rope as a starting pitcher as opposed to the ninth inning where he has to, you give up one run, the game could be over. He'll have, you give up 3 runs in the first, you live with it and you hopefully find yourself. And I'm curious to see how he does with that. But right now in spring, he's had his A stuff. He's looked dominant. And I think he's got the stuff where when he is on his game, like the old pitching cliche, you get 30 starts, 10 you'll have your great stuff, 10 you'll have nothing, and it's what you do with the 10 in between. I have no doubt he'll give you 10 of the best starts the Mets will have all year. I really do believe that's how good his stuff is.
Well, that's
but
baseball.
I'm very curious how he is in the 10 where he has to find it.
That's baseball in a whole. You're gonna win 60 games, you're gonna lose 60 games. It's what you do with the other 40. That's the difference. Mm-hmm. And speaking of, and Clay Holmes, listen, I don't put stock in anything that goes on in the spring. It just doesn't matter. Pitchers are working on stuff. They're not really playing. Guys are leaving in the 3rd inning to go hit the golf course. It's just not the type of situation where you can really judge. You work on your stuff, and we'll see how he does. And Sean Manaea is going to come back. It looks like he's coming back quick, which is unbelievable because like Senga last year, they said 6 weeks, and we saw him once in August, and that was it. As far as the Seth Lugo goes, I have a list on this show. It's called Former Met, Now Good. And it goes all the way back from Jeff Kent, all the way to someone like Seth Lugo. Sure. And it's a list. It's a never ending list. It just gets frustrating when you see somebody like Seth Lugo, who we had forever toiling around in the bullpen. And then he goes and he was, top on the Cy Young list for half the season last year.
While he was begging the Mets to make him a starter.
The whole time.
He just was desperate to be a starter. I've never seen a reliever who throws 9 pitches. So, that was a candidate like I could see, like Michael King with the Yankees. Yeah. He had the repertoire. He proven he could throw multiple innings in relief outings. Like that has not been Clay Holmes. Those guys I saw more. I'm not saying Clay Holmes can't do it. And I'm looking forward to seeing him do it on opening day. But like those guys, at least, Seth Lugo had 7 or 8 pitches and could throw multiple innings. Same thing with Michael King. So that felt a little bit more natural of a transition for me than Clay Holmes will. But I'm looking forward to seeing it because Clay Holmes is my guy. Like we mentioned, I'm not a Met hater. I can promise you, I will be excited for Clay Holmes if he pitches.
Yeah, well. You do, and you talk a lot about
everyone.
You did. Yeah. You fought off a lot about
everyone forever about Clay Holmes.
Now, okay, good. Now switching gears. Football. The football is terrible in this town. Who's gonna be our quarterback? I mean, who's gonna be the quarterbacks in this town? I think. I mean, I don't know about Aaron Rodgers. I think the Giants aren't ready to win now. They've made a lot of big pickups on the defense. They have the receiver who could be a top receiver in this league, but I don't want Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he's much good. I was calling him last year. I was calling him average Rodgers all year. He was average. And if you're going to rebuild, you want to start over and find your next Eli Manning, who we all, by the way, miss immensely, even though they killed him. Most people killed him.
Right. Well, I mean, listen, if you remember, since you brought up Eli Manning, a certain washed-up St. Louis Ram named Kurt Warner,
I said that,
who nobody thought was any good, was the replacement, or at least started the year as the starting quarterback for Eli Manning. And I think that's I've been a pro Rodgers guy.
But he's not going to do that. Rodgers isn't going to do that. Rodgers is going to do what Kurt Warner did.
No, I know. Kurt Warner didn't do it willingly, and I can tell you this: like, if they're 2-6, he's not going to have a choice.
Fair.
I mean,
fair
I don't. He's not. Again, this is what's different for me with Aaron Rodgers and everyone. Oh, the headache he is, and the whatever other issues we like to make up about Aaron Rodgers. Your play on the field point, that's a fair point. But some of this other stuff I hear, that he's a cancer in the clubhouse, he's demanding, he's this, he's that. Every single player for the New York Jets spoke to the idea they were disappointed that he wasn't coming back, to the point that the new head coach, Aaron Glenn, had to speak to them individually to stop going public with their displeasure of Aaron Rodgers leaving. Now, I'm not saying that's a reason to keep him. I'm saying it's tough to make a cancer clubhouse argument when the entire roster is, I guess we suck again the minute Aaron Rodgers leaves. And the other thing, if he would have come to the New York Giants, you got to understand, like, already Minnesota has said no. We're hearing reports that TV doesn't want him. I don't know, like, where, like, it sounds like it's the
Pittsburgh.
Giants and it's Pittsburgh. And like, that's it. And the Jets traded first-round pick and third-round pick and a fifth-round pick and a conditional second-round pick. Like, he was coming over here as the savior of the New York Jets with a lot of stock, with a lot of gravitas. If he comes to the Giants, he doesn't have any of that. He might get a contract that we might be surprised with how much money it is. But ultimately, he's going to be here for 1 year to try and satisfy an owner who made it very clear that wins have to come. To me, none of this works without drafting the quarterback. I agree with you. I don't want Rodgers. I don't want Wilson. I don't want any, like, no one's going to excite me if they don't have a young quarterback. Because I agree with you. I don't expect the Giants
They're not winning
to go
the
out
Super
there
Bowl
and
next
win.
year or making the playoffs next year, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, listen, anything could happen. We've seen crazier things, but I would doubt it very much in a division that has the best team in football, as well as the emerging Washington Commanders, who just went to the NFC Championship
they're
game
good.
and took down the 1 seed on the road with one of the great young quarterbacks who had the best rookie season we may have ever seen in the history of the NFL. So, tough home schedule, very difficult division at the top, and a roster that, I think is better than people will tell you, and especially now that they've added some depth to the defensive backfield, which was a huge problem for them last year. They still have Dexter Lawrence, who's arguably the greatest defensive tackle in the league. They've got Malik Neighbors. Andrew Thomas is a Pro Bowl left tackle when healthy. Like, I think there's better. I think Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson aren't terrible. Theo Johnson is a young tight end prospect that had a very successful college career that I think can be a weapon in the NFL. Like, I don't think it's a disaster, but for me, it's, you give them a chance to win with Aaron Rodgers, because whatever we thought, he threw 28 touchdowns and 11 interceptions.
Yeah, the numbers
right?
weren't
and
terrible.
And threw for 4,000 yards. Now, we watched the games. He had opportunities to go win it. He didn't. I think that team fell apart after firing the coach. They had a couple of wins in their back pocket that the kicker blew. Then they fired the coach and the defense gave up. Now, I'm not saying he played great, and he also had a real tough time dealing with minor injuries. If he was banged up in the slightest, it showed on the field. And he's going to be 40 years old. So what's the odds that doesn't happen again? I get it. But he is also a year removed from a devastating injury, and we've seen it time and time again. ACLs, Achilles, it could take a full year before you're anywhere close to the same kind of player you were before. Even at 40, I think we're seeing, guys play well into their 40s now, late 30s, and be much more effective than previous generations, a la Tom Brady. And I just think he's the best option on the field, and I do think he's the best guy to learn from, like, as the young quarterback, just watching not only one of the greatest arms we've ever seen, but one of the most cerebral quarterbacks. I mean, he is the king of the free play. He's the king of getting 12 men on the field. He understands how to read a defense better than Russell Wilson, better than, God knows, better than Jameis Winston. Like, I just think even through osmosis, like, you can get a productive view of how one of the greatest players to ever play the position goes about his business.
But it's not about next year. That's my problem. And I guess you're right. If they draft a quarterback, he could teach him. If he's willing to step aside. The Giants weren't terrible. Were they terrible when Kurt Warner stepped down? They brought Eli in. If they put him in
5-4.
5-4. That's still in the. You know he'd be bitching and moaning if they pulled Rodgers at 5-4.
They won't do it. 100%. It's a different element. It's a different angle to that. Where as long as they're in the hunt, I mean, they had planes flying over.
Oh, I know. It's embarrassing.
The owner is desperate. The owner is desperate to compete. There is no way in hell he would allow a quarterback change at 5-4, 5-5, 4-5.
Yeah, no.
If they are still in the mix, there is no doubt they're keeping them. And that's
till the ninth loss. Till the ninth loss. They'll wait till the ninth loss when you're out. right?
Correct. If right, exactly right. Or listen, or if they're 1-6,
Okay, fair.
then yeah, I could like. But I hear what you're saying. But yeah, it would have to be season's over before they would make the decision. There's no doubt about it. This is where that is different. Like if it's Jameis Winston and they're 4-5, 5-5, I could see that switch being made. Even Russell Wilson, maybe I could see that switch being made. It would not happen with Aaron Rodgers. That is true. He would probably get the full year. But I'm kind of okay with that, and especially right now at the draft, like. I think it's starting to really feel more and more like a pipe dream that they're going to be able to trade up to number 1 to get Cam Ward.
You like
Shedeur
Deion's
Sanders
kid?
will probably what's that?
Do you like Deion's kid?
Yeah, I don't love him. I mean, I can't tell you that I think he's as good a prospect as some the others that have come down the pike over the last couple of years, but I do think he's accurate. I do think he played behind poor offensive lines. I do think he turned around 2 college programs. And I do think he's lived in the spotlight and he's had money his whole life and he's made money in his college career. I don't think New York would be too much for him. I don't think the spotlight would be too much for him. And I do think that he would be, I feel like he's an NFL quarterback. Is he the kind of quarterback that Jaden Daniels is, that puts the team on his back year 1, year 2, and takes them to the NFC Championship game? Maybe not. You'd probably have to build a better overall roster and like have a real successful go of it over a couple of years to give them the kind of team. But I do think he could be the quarterback of the future. I do think you could have sustained winning with him. But even if he's not there, then if you're taking a Jackson Dart or something, maybe a whole year, because I think you have to draft a quarterback. If they go 1-2, you still got to find
him. You're the 3 pick.
Whether it is number 3, like, listen, if they take Jackson Dart number 3, I'm going to be happy because that means they believe in him and we're going to see what he is. And like Jackson Dart, I think needs a full year. I want a full year for Jackson Dart coming out of that Ole Miss offense. So
that's how it always was. When we were growing up, I remember my father used to tell us, I'm sorry. He used to tell me, and I used to sit there and don't judge a quarterback till year 5. Don't even look at him until year 5. They used to sit for 2 years.
Big Mac, I don't know if you've ever heard of Phil Simms out of Morehead State. But Phil Simms was a bum the first 2 years, and Parcells was in his face every day. And then what happened, huh? You see that Super Bowl against the Broncos? Like
now it's 8 games in, and they're running them out of town.
Yeah. No, of course. I understand. It's a crazy dynamic. I understand that. And the other thing that bothers me is people will tell you, yeah, but if you're wrong on the quarterback, it sets you back 5 years. Well, what has been wrong on Evan Neal done for the New York Giants? Like, if you're wrong with the third pick, it doesn't matter what position it is. Now, I will caveat by saying the quarterback is the most difficult position to judge, and you're probably more likely to make the wrong pick quarterback as opposed to, I feel like we're comfortable with wide receivers. Like if you're drafting a wide receiver in the top 5, top 7, you feel pretty confident he's going to be at least a pretty damn good wide receiver.
He better be.
Brilliant. Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like if Malik Neighbors sucks, well, at least he wasn't a quarterback. Like, what's the difference?
Yeah, you're right.
So I hate that argument. Like, if you draft the wrong quarterback at 3, it sets you back forever. If you draft the wrong offensive lineman at 3,
if you have the right quarterback on your team, you're not drafting 3.
Right, exactly right. Because if you get the quarterback right, it changes the franchise. The Giants drafted Saquon Barkley. I mean, I think they were right on the talent.
I think they were wrong, though. They shouldn't have drafted him. I mean, they screwed up with Jones, too.
I hated the draft pick. But my point is they certainly didn't get the wrong player. No. He's a talented superstar player, Hall of Fame level talent player, and it didn't help them at the running back position. We've seen
he needed to be Barry Sanders.
On offensive.
He needed to be Barry Sanders to justify it, and even that might not have done it because running backs are a dime a dozen. They play 3-4 years, and then they're out most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at what Tracy just did for the Giants, and then look at Saquon Barkley's last year at the Giants,
same thing.
It's not that different. Like, and I'm not saying they're anywhere near the same caliber back. I understand what Saquon Barkley is. I'm just saying for the situation, it didn't make sense. But my point is, you could be right with the running back, you could be right with the wide receiver, you could be right with a shutdown corner, you could be right with a stud left tackle. None of them. I mean, Andrew Thomas not only hasn't impacted winning, he hasn't impacted offensive line play. Like, they have the best defensive tackle in the sport in Dexter Lawrence. Their defense sucked last year.
Sucked.
Like, if you draft the right quarterback, he changes your franchise. So, like, to me, it's about juice being worth the squeeze. Sure, if it's a failure, it's a disaster. But if you get it right, it guarantees you a level of success that no other position guarantees you. So when you don't have a quarterback and you're drafting 3rd, I think you're foolish if you don't draft a quarterback.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I wanted Dable out. Do you think Dable deserves another chance?
I was okay with it. It deserves is tough for me. I think year one, he literally changed how I felt about the team and the franchise, and it's been a disaster since.
That was a mirage.
But I felt like we had our first. I know it feels like that, right?
But
I
does.
understand that, but it felt like I'm still chasing the mirage. I mean, it's the Giants. I'm lucky from. Well,
I'm a Mets fan. The Giants. At least I got some championships with the Giants.
That's true. No, that's true. But I just felt like he got a raw deal in many ways. Like I still want to see. He was brought here because he helped develop Josh Allen, and whatever level you think he was involved in that, because people get mad when I say that. Like Josh Allen was this immense talent. Yeah, did you see him his rookie year? Because he wasn't really an immense talent year one. It took a development. He was a project quarterback, and Brian Dable was now he's gone on to be better without Brian Dable, but those first 3 years of development were critical for him.
Those are most important.
And I think Brian Dable played him, and that's what made him a coaching candidate, was developing Josh Allen. So the idea that they, gave him Daniel Jones the first year, he was able to limit turnovers and a couple of amazing defensive plays in the fourth quarter against the Ravens and the Packers in London, were able to sneak them into the playoffs. Daniel Jones had one great game, so they felt like they had to keep him. And that moment, and Joe Shane has referenced this a bunch, that decision has set back the franchise.
Yes.
And I just feel like Brian Dable was never given an opportunity to have legitimate quarterback play. And I don't know if he's a bad coach. I'm leaning towards that, but I don't know. And when I was looking at other quarterback options and other options out there, I just felt like, to me, I still would want to. And I just think that John Mara handled it poorly too. Like, to me, John Mara came out after making the decision and was kind of like, I don't know why I'm doing this. Probably because I don't want to have to hire somebody else. And, they have one more chance at a winning season. And I feel like he should have come out and said, listen, for whatever reason, the rebuild that I hired them for didn't ever take flight, but I still believe in their message, and I'm going to give them one more chance to rebuild this.
Yeah, John Mara's lost too. He's lost too with his father. He's not his father. One more year to have a successful season is just not. He should have just committed to them long term for the turnaround. Like that, it was either one or the other. It was either give them the full, like, hey, for whatever reason, this thing went to crap, but I still believe in them. I think we're in a position to rebuild, and I hired them to do that. I'm going to give them one more crack at this rebuild, as opposed to I better have 7-8 wins next year. Otherwise, I guess I'm hiring and firing new guys. So, like, starting over again.
John Mara is lost. I know
he's lost. And you know what? And I have a hard and fast rule when it comes to the draft in the NFL. And then we've said the Giants have broken it twice. If you're going to draft somebody out of Duke, you better be a basketball team. Right, let's stop with the draft in these. Dave Brown, Dave Brown was just as bad. Was almost as bad as Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones was almost as bad as Dave Brown.
I mean, Daniel Jones probably had more tools than Brown, but they happened to win a couple more games. Maybe it wasn't as ugly as it got in the Daniel Jones era. But
they also had Ray Hanley as a coach. They also had Ray Hanley as a coach.
Yeah, I know they had Ray Hanley as a coach. That's right. Listen, I like Daniel Jones as a guy. I think he's a tough son of a gun, man. I really do. He
got his ass kicked.
He has no fear in him. He gets his ass kicked and he keeps getting up. Even with the injuries, he's got a neck injury, a knee injury. And even game one of this year that he played, he was encouraging contact. He didn't shy away from anything. He's a tough kid and a tough-minded guy. I just don't think he has the tool set. And I think he's been a little bit gun shy over the years. He stopped throwing the ball deep. I mean, it was amazing. Last year was one of the more puzzling things. If you remember in preseason, which again, we just talked about spring training, doesn't mean all that much, but they attacked down the field all camp. Like, I watched a bunch of the videos from camp. I watched a bunch of the stuff in preseason. They were throwing the ball down the field. And then the game started and they never attacked down the field. And I'm sorry, but I've watched a lot of the all 22 and stuff. Daniel Jones doesn't take chances.
No,
he eliminated turning the ball over, and then it was this fine line. You got to be aggressive. Yeah, you got to be safe with the ball. You don't want turnovers, but you have to move the ball and go down the field. And Daniel Jones eventually, at one point in his career, just said, "All I got to do is manage this game." And the Giants aren't talented enough to have a manager. So I mean, that's what it is. So.
And yeah,
but that's over, thankfully, and I'm looking forward. I would do Aaron Rodgers, and I think the waiting game is perfect for them. I will wait forever. I don't care. I really don't.
And he might make you wait. He's a weird. I'll tell you one thing about Aaron Rodgers. He's a weird dude. That's what it is. He's a weird dude.
Oh.
You know, he's just a weird guy. He's off on his own thing. He's eating mushrooms in the desert and trying to figure out if he wants to come back. Whatever he's doing. But anyway. But
no.
Now, lastly, are you? If St. John's wins a couple games here, you going to get wrapped up in this?
Yeah, I'm on tonight after the post game. The fan is having the coverage tonight, so I'll be on after the final game, and then I forget who the final game is tonight. The 10:15.
It might be. But St. John's is 9:30.
No, St. John's is 9:45.
Yeah.
There's another game that tips like a half hour after them. Anyway, after the post game and everything, I'll be on. Yeah, no, I'll tell you this. Like, it's funny. I was talking about this with my producer, Mike Fliegelman, and we were joking about it because you opened the show talking about how long I've been here. I've been at the fan for going on 18 years now.
You've never seen this.
And the idea that opening day, Yankees and Mets, that there is a good chance I open my show with St. John's in the Sweet 16 is crazy.
Crazy.
That is so foreign to me. That is so out there to me. The idea that, and I think it would be justified depending on how the game, what time the game would be or what's going on, because I'll get on at 2:00. So I would imagine
they start at 7 at night. I think on that Thursday. That Thursday, it's like a 7 at night standalone game, and then they do like the
Yeah, right. So I'll be on after the game, but like if they win and go to the Elite Eight, right? And I think it would be there's a good that game would most likely be Texas Tech, right?
And then they would be playing Florida, yeah.
Yeah, they would beat Texas Tech to go play Florida.
Correct.
If they beat the 3 Texas Tech to set up a match against Florida in the Elite Eight, and I'm on at night, Judge could hit 4 home runs. Juan Soto could hit for the cycle, and I might open with St. John's, and that is so crazy to me. It's the one college program that the city loves. It's the one college team that could get the excitement level this high, and right now, like, they're in that weird situation that I think you as a Met fan were in last year, where it's an incredible run. Like, on some level, no one expected it. St. John's was predicted to be the 5th best team in the Big East this year. So the idea they're a 2 seed. The idea they were the dominant team in the Big East, that they were down multiple times at half in the Big East tournament and won by double digits.
Their defense is incredible.
Defense is incredible. The coach, is one of the great coaches in the history of basketball, let alone college basketball. And like, this is a miracle run that for the first time for me, like, when you have these seasons, it's fun. And at the end of it, no matter how it ends, you'll sort of look fondly on it, but you want to stamp this year as special. Like,
they got to get to the
last year,
Sweet
16. If Alonso hits into a double play against Milwaukee and they lose the games 2 and 3 against Milwaukee and get knocked out, like, as great a run as it was, you don't have the feeling of what you have now with beating Philadelphia and getting to the NLCS. Like, you stamped that great run. You solidified OMG and Grimace and the down from 11 games under 500 and all the heroics that came with it, and the Vientos season and everything.
We
that
were
went
pumping
with
our
it.
chest all off season for the first time in a long time. I was proud to be a Mets fan.
Oh, of course. Yeah, no, you're taking this thing for a spin. I don't blame you. But
exactly.
Like, that's what I was, talking about with the Yankee Met, because I'll tell you, I'm inundated on social media with Met fans attacking the Yankee rotation, attacking the injuries, attacking the lineup. Like, it's not just
pump
beating
the brakes,
chest.
Mets fans. Pump the brakes.
The Met fan has decided to attack the Yankees because they, right now, with the enthusiasm of how smart your GM is, how rich your owner is, how well run a situation you've got going on. You just added Juan Soto. Like, right now, the Met fan is out taking this enthusiasm out for a spin.
They're usually Jets fans.
I don't blame them.
Most of them are Jets fans too. Mets, Jets. Can you imagine? That'd be Cespedes going down with an Achilles tear in the first inning of opening day. I mean, that thing with Rodgers was out of control. And listen, the Mets, you could open them. You could do your open right now for the Mets on opening day. They're going to win, right? Because they win every opening day. That's what they do. They play opening day and then they kind of fall off after that. So it's going to be fun. And with St. John's, I think and listen, they could lose tonight to Omaha because this tournament is crazy, and we've seen better teams than St. John's lose to worse teams than Omaha. So be careful with it.
Well, no doubt. Listen, the fear with them is, you know how great they are defensively. The question is, can they hit their threes, and will they ice the game with foul shots down the stretch? That's the deal. Because honestly, I mean, we've seen it before. Really, if you go back to the Virginia UMBC game, UMBC was on fire from three.
Oh yeah.
Like, if you get a hot shooting team and you can ice
kid
the
hits
game
8
with free
threes,
throws,
there's nothing you can do.
anything can happen in this game. So that's my point. Like, I don't know if this is like, to me, you have to get to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, that's what you gotta get.
You're not going to have it. Like, you get to the Sweet 16, you lose to Texas Tech, you could live with it.
You
Absolutely. Lose to Omaha, you lose to Arkansas, you lose to Kansas. Like, I don't know how the feeling of this thing is going to be. We're all going to have confidence because they have the money and they have Patino. So I don't think the program's going anywhere, but they could be better next year and not get the 2 seed. Like they are pumped and primed to go on a run here. And you got to stamp this great season with a couple of wins here. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to 9:45 tonight, man. It should be fun. Time to wait. Yeah.
The hooker, if they lose in this first weekend, the hookers for the recruits next year are going to have to be a lot better than they were. So his name is CMac.
And it's funny too, just how weird college basketball is, like, because
now they're paying players.
Again, I'm not the big. I am not the most big college guy. I'm a sports guy. I'm a pro guy a little bit.
It's a pro town,
but it's a pro town, right? And that's what I've been, that's what I've grown up with over the last 18 years. But what I would say is, like Patino to say, and this is where college basketball is and college sports are, like, we're not even looking at high school recruits this year. Right? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's not new, and maybe I haven't been around. Like,
no, I think it's new.
A college program is not going to be looking at high school recruits.
Yes.
Like, that's where we are. He's going to go straight to the portal. They're going to look to snipe guys off of other teams and pay Mike Rapoli money, and that's fine. I have no issue with it. I'm good for the players, but it's just amazing how different it is. And the other element of that is how some coaches, what's his name in Alabama and Roy Williams and some other coaches, have kind of run away from this change.
Yeah.
They're out, like, screw this.
They were winning titles. Like Kentucky was winning titles with 5 freshmen.
Yeah. That's a completely different world now. The one and dones aren't going to win. It's completely different. And many coaches just said, I'm getting the hell out of this. I can't do this. Coach K, Saban. And it seems like Patino's like, let's go.
Because he's been doing it forever. He's like, it's finally legal. It's finally legal. I've been doing this forever.
I've run the Celtics. I've run the Knicks. I've been in the pros before. I know what it's like to have to pay athletes. And he's running
Louisville. I got fired for this in many places. Now it's legal, and now I'm winning.
Yeah. No.
But either way, it's going to be fun. I can't wait for St.Johns. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to tonight.
Yeah. All right. The CMac, Chris McMonigle is his name. His show is 11 to 5, or what's your show?
No, it's during the baseball season. It's going to be mostly 2 to 5, but it's either midnight to 5 or 2 to 5 every morning.
I get my guys locked in and then I turn you on, so I don't know exactly when you start. So
I got you.
All right. Thanks. Hey, man, appreciate it. Thanks for coming on, giving us a couple minutes.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me. It was fun. We had a good time.
Absolutely. Thank you. How about that? Thank you. Chris McMonigle, CMac, WFAN. He's the overnight host, and he did a fantastic job. Take it from someone who works midnights. Middle of the day is not easy to do anything. Usually you're in bad shape. I am usually in bad shape. But he came on, gave us some of his time, gave us about 45 minutes, and did a fantastic job. So good stuff for there. We got touched on everything, from St.Johns to the Yankees to Aaron Rodgers. So great job by him, and we hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget, we'll be on later tonight. Wrap up day 1 of the NCAA tournament. Hopefully St.Johns is still standing. And that does it for us. Again, thank you to Chris McMonigle from WFAN. I'm Bob Walters from the Brian Gunzel Studios. See ya.